Hello and welcome to Seidrkin. I'm very excited to have you here. I am going to be posting more regularly. So if you've seen some of my podcasts and you've listened to some of my rambles, you'll understand that I'm very interested in personal growth, alchemy, how to get from one state to another, how to transform ourselves. And this is in all sorts of realms, focusing maybe on the relational, maybe on the life experience, business, work, what do we do with our time, our energy, our love. So you'll hear a lot of conversations from me about all the things that I've discovered in my time that are useful for this process. Today I wanted to talk about pleasure because I find this a really interesting transformational tool to get us from one state to another, and there's reasons for that. So something I offer the people who work with me is a pleasure practice. What this is designed to do is to flush out the demons that you might have regarding pleasure in your life. Let's talk about why pleasure is important. This is a quote that I heard Alison Armstrong speaking to when she speaks about men and women and how we function together. And she said, women need to feel good to do good. Men need to do good to feel good. And in my opinion and my observation of life, we get this the wrong way around all the time as women. So we try and do the martyr thing. We try and offer our hard labor to the ones that we love. We try to take care of everybody else, and we function often on an empty tank. Now, what we unintentionally do is we offer a frequency of struggle, and instead of being the places that men, women, children, everybody can come to as these oases of softness, we become places of discomfort, places of complaining, energetic black holes that suck a lot of energy from the people that we love. And unfortunately, the gift that we aim to give others, our care and love, doesn't land the way that perhaps we wish it would. So let's talk about how we can shift this narrative, change this process within ourselves, and move forwards. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for some people, because we need to honor the place that pleasure has in our lives. And I know firsthand that this can be really uncomfortable. So what can often happen when you start to explore pleasure in your world is that you don't feel much of it. Instead, you feel pain. What's happening a lot of the time is that you're simply beginning to feel. What happens when we feel is that we feel the sensations that we've been avoiding through busyness, through, distractions, through serving others. We take ourselves outside of our own experience so that we don't have to feel what's inside of us and actually move through those experiences. So what we often have to come up against before we actually feel the enjoyable sensations of pleasure is that we have to come through the pain that needs to be felt. If you've ever experienced yourself in a state of, depression or numbness, something that can be misunderstood in this realm is that numbness isn't necessarily it never really is the absence of sensation. It's the overwhelm of too much sensation that cannot be carried in the body. So when we start to try and feel again, we're often having to move through sensations that are unpleasant to be able to bring our broad range of experience back online. This broad range encompasses pleasure, but we cannot have the light without the dark, can we? So becoming a person, a woman who is feelable, who is able to have sensations in her body, means that we have to develop the capacity to feel the pain and keep our heart open. Now, I offer various ways to do that. I have a little PDF that I'm going to have down below that you can download for free. And I take people through this process of journaling, exploring practices that might help you walk into pleasure more, and delving into this process of feeling, because this is our life force energy as women. If it is true that we cannot do good without feeling good, then our radiance, our pleasure, our sensation body is incredibly important. Otherwise, we can continue living our life cerebrally, from our minds. Ask me how that goes. I've done a lot of that in my time. But as we become more able to hold sensations in our body, a lot of things shift in the world around us. We start to actually embody the magnetism that is possible for a woman. If we're numb and if we're shutting our heart and we're closing our heart, we lose a lot of that magnetism, because there's nothing for life to be drawn into if we're so closed like that. But if we're open and if we're able to receive what life brings us and respond to it with our feminine body, then we are able to receive a lot more, and life brings that. The way that people respond to you, the way that opportunities come to you changes when you're able to actually receive them without enjoying the gifts that we're given in our life, without receiving them joyfully. It's almost like the magnetic poles don't exist in proper balance. If there's no joyful receptivity, there's just sort of this numb, empty place that we receive from. There's no reason for life and people around us to nourish us, because it's of no benefit to us. We're not actually being able to absorb the nourishment that comes through gifts that come our way. Let that sit in your body for a hot minute. And I want to hear in the comments what your experience with pleasure is, how you experience this in your life. What are your blocks if you feel like you do have some? What if you try out the journaling pleasure practice that I've offered you? I want to hear about it. Did it bring up some challenging experiences? Did it bring up beliefs, stories maybe of worthiness? I don't deserve to be nourished like this. I don't deserve this much frivolous pleasure. This is a very big topic, and I've just scratched the surface today, but we're going to talk more about it as we go on, because this is our superpower as women. This is our magnetism. This is something that is worth being devoted to, and it will change your life, even if it starts out really painful. Thank you for spending a bit of time here. If you like this, subscribe, like, share it with your bestie, and let's continue exploring alchemy and all of the ways that we can bring abundance into our life and our heart and our experience, and live life well, because what are we here for if not that? Talk to you soon.